You split apart welded 3-piece wheels. So you are going to have to take the face out of here. And you're going to have to cut this weld right in here. If you plan on reusing the barrels, I would try to hug the lip side more than the barrel side, and or more than just the center, unless you have a lathe of some kind. But this is going to be your DIY way. So you're going to take a Sawzall, or you're going to take a cutoff wheel of some kind. You're going to cut this just enough all the way around pretty evenly. You're going to go deep in about 1 or 2 spots. Stick a flathead in here and split it apart by hammering it in. All right, so this is how you're going to take off the bolts on here. I sprayed these all with WD-40. Mine, fortunately, are all pretty clean. The last SSRs I had were pretty rusty, pretty roached. So take an impact. You can also do this by hand. I did the first set by hand, but went and borrowed this from my friend just because it was just taking me a long time. You can get lucky, like I have been, where you can just impact the nut side and they'll come right off. Sometimes you have to have your socket on the other side to hold them in place so that the nut can come off, but so far I've been pretty lucky, and I'll show you here how this goes. Looks like a lot of these I'm going to have to hold on the backside and impact them off. See, this one came out, just had to hold it on the backside. Same with this one here. Just see if I can put my finger on the back. Came off just fine. Next one, we'll see. You could even do some of these by hand, but no point when you can just zip them off with the impact. So take put the nut back on, give it a little tap with a hammer or a punch, flathead, something, right on the edge here, and just very lightly tap the edge of your screwdriver or punch, and they'll fall right out. 2 of mine have seemed to round out, or at least they're starting to on the back side here. So I gotta figure out how to get those out, whether I use more PB Blaster and some heat or what the fuck I use, but we'll figure it out. All right, I have all the hardware out. Did run into some issues like I was talking about. Some of these were too stuck and the nuts on the backside rounded out, so I just destroyed them and cut them off instead with the Dremel. You will definitely need that if you want to do something like this. So these are replaceable. These are not that expensive, ordering in just small amounts. A full amount usually is like 200 something, maybe 250 for a whole set, but just 1 or 2, maybe 8 in total. Say if 2 break on each set or 2 can't go or something. Not expensive. So now I'm going to flip this around to the other side, lay it on its face side, take a wood block on the inside and smack it with a hammer to get the face out. This might take a couple rounds. But you will see the face start to separate. So now face is out. Move your barrel and lip or your hoop. Now you have just your face. There are some tools you're going to need. Just a grinder with a cutoff wheel, hammer, safety glasses, probably some ear protection, and a flathead. Basically what you're going to do is, here is your weld on your wheels. So we just took out the faces a while ago, but you're going to want to cut in between here. You want to try and do a nice middle cut as even as you can. Don't go into the barrel or else you'll have to get new barrels, because we're just trying to reuse or redo the lip size here. So you can either hug the lip, since it's trash anyway, so if you go into it, whatever, and cut along there, or you can just go straight in the middle, and you're going to do a nice even cut all the way around till you are happy with it. Do one good section that's pretty deep, and you're going to slowly use your screwdriver and pry and split and hammer in between till it falls apart and cracks apart, and then you'll smooth it out. But we'll show you here in a second. Forgot to say too, you'll need some flap discs. So this is what's going to smooth out all of this leftover weld on the barrel side, so that when you get your new lips, you can mount them together and seal them up, and they'll sit correct, and they're not going to sit all messed up because they're not going to cut perfect. So, making my cut here slowly. You don't know if you can really see it. Little harder than I thought. You just want to be really careful because this stuff cuts pretty fast. It does, but it doesn't. So you just want to be careful how you're cutting. Just take your time. You don't want to mess things up. So I'm doing the method of sticking closer to the lip, because I'd rather just be safe than sorry and make sure I have a nice line to follow. So I'll just end up having to bevel off all that stuff, which won't take me long, I don't think. But all right, I just wanted to show just how deep you really have to go here. So I don't know how well you can see it, but the cut is pretty far in there compared to what it was. I'm not done yet, but you got a ways to go. You gotta be able to see the light through this thing. So it's close, but I just wanted to show you how deep you need to go to do this. Wanted to do here's a progress update. So cutting slowly all the way around. I changed out the blade. Just so you know, aluminum is going to get literally on everything, everywhere. And I put some rags down to try and help stop it from it's going like this as it starts to cut. So I put some rags down to try and help, but it doesn't really seem to be working. So I'm slowly making my way around. I changed out the blade, like I said, just because I was getting a little sketched out by it, but we are getting there. So I've got my really deep cut here. Hopefully this is enough. And then I just kind of slowly went around. You can see here is the original weld, and where I cut is where it meets the lip. Some spots are a little shallower than others, so I may have to cut deeper than expected. And you can see too here, I went into the lip, so it's a good thing I didn't do that to the barrel side or try to cut down the middle. Otherwise I'd be screwed. But I'm gonna try and stick my screwdriver in here and try and get these to split apart. This did take me a while. My hands hurt. This is not a fast process whatsoever, and you're definitely going to need a lot of cutting discs and a lot of time and some ear protection. Aluminum will fill the cutting disc up, so it won't cut super well after a while, which is why you'll have to go through and get a couple other blades. But It takes a while to do this. I've probably been working in it now for 45 minutes, 30 minutes or so. So to know how far or how good you've cut, you should be able to see your cutting disc all the way through for a good portion of it. And this is how you're going to be able to split apart the lips and shove your screwdriver in there. But you should be able to get that far. You'll see the little holes from where your hardware goes into. And you should be able to start splitting apart from here. So I'm starting to get them to go. You can see there's a very fine hair crack right in here. Right, where did it go? There it is. You can see it spreading right there. You should be able to just keep cracking all the way around and forcing your screwdriver back and forth, and you'll hear it crack and it'll separate. So I ended up cutting pretty deep all the way around because I was struggling to get them to split apart. I'm using the thickest, strongest screwdriver I've got, and you slowly work your way down. Slowly, 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 and they'll start to crack all the way around. You can't jump from here to there. You got to go slow all the way around, pounding it in, and you'll flex the screwdriver back and forth, and you'll hear it crack, 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 and you're starting to get there. You can see I'm almost there. Slowly but surely, we are getting there. Might be able to crack it all the way off right here. Crack it all the way off. Oh yeah, she's gonna bust. She's finna bust. Bust. Do it now. Bust for me now. Do it. Bust, bitch. Bust. Bust right now. All right, y'all, I got her to bust. I'm finna bust. So you can see, obviously, we have them split apart now. The next thing that I have to do is get rid of all this excess weld. If I would have hugged the barrel side, I wouldn't have to do that, but I've got to get rid of all of this. You can see there's a little lip. I've got to get rid of that and flatten it out. Ooh, my finger's full of fucking aluminum. But yeah, you can see there's just a tiny lip that you need to get rid of, or else these will not sit properly together when you get new lips. Not gonna lie, this took me hours. This is not like a quick 30-minute, 1 hour thing. I think I've been doing this now for maybe 2.5 hours, possibly 3. I've been painting something in the process too. But you can throw these fuckers away now. All right, I'm on to wheel number 2. This time, learning from my mistakes, I'm going deeper around, all the way around. I'm not going like crazy deep. I'm doing like 3 really deep ones where I can see the blade through into the hardware holes. And the rest of it, I'm just kind of getting a whole lot deeper than I had before. Just that I cut once and hammer once, and I'm not having to go back and hammer, cut, hammer, cut, hammer, cut. So, I'm gonna keep going here. So, turns out you don't want to cut as so close to the lip as possible, or you'll end up doing these for multiple days like I have been. I would suggest just trying to cut straight down the middle, because what happened to me is I cut along the edge, but I wasn't cutting apart the barrel and the lip. What I was cutting apart was this line right here. So I wasn't actually cutting them apart, I was just cutting for nothing. So what I'm trying to do now is, you can see I need to now cut there and cut all in between here now. I shoved a hole through right there, which is this hole. So I'm going to try and follow this hole and not go against the barrel super heavy. But yeah, I've been going at this now for so long. You can see you can see the bolt holes through, but it doesn't matter because I'm not cutting in between them. I'm cutting into this part, which doesn't do you any good. So I would just try and cut it down the middle as best as you can and not make the same mistake I have been. I must have just got lucky on that one. Okay, so I finally won here. This is what you don't want them to look like when you're done, because I just spent probably 5 hours total trying to cut these apart. So like I said, what was happening was I was actually cutting into the actual, like, where the hardware goes itself, and not cutting into where the weld is to hold them together, which made this take much longer than it needed to. You can see how clean this one cut, and this one is just an absolute fuck show. Had a bit of an oopsie cutting into the barrel, but I think I should be okay. I just hardly cut into it, so all this stuff has got to get flattened out anyways, which I think will be right where that is. But yeah, I was having the absolute worst time trying to cut these apart. On to the third wheel now. So started pretty deep again, and this time I'm going in the middle of the cut as best as I can. All right, that was a hell of a lot easier trying to split these apart. Took a while to cut, obviously, but much cleaner cut this time. Just going all the way across the center, doing a real nice, taking it slow. Made a real deep cut on one spot where I could see the disc was coming through to the holes. Pounded the screwdriver through, and it cracked almost all the way off in one go. So yeah, one more to go. That was the easiest time I've had this entire time. So now they're all split. I probably went through maybe 15 cutting discs. Yeah, 15. No, I already used 5 from the subframe. I probably went through 10 cutting discs to be able to do this. That was insane, but now our next step is to bevel all of this smooth. Well, not bevel it, but get all this smooth and get rid of all the rest of that aluminum all the way around on the barrels, because the lips are trash. Got one of them done for the sanding of it smooth. So you'll want something that looks like this. Compared to that, right, all nasty and gross. You've got high spots and lower spots and whatever. Comparing to this doesn't have to be perfect because silicone is sealing this together anyways. I haven't taken the valve stem out, but you can see, here's a difference for you. You can see the weld here versus I've pretty much smoothened it out. It's a little taller there, but that's okay. I've pretty much smoothened it out flat. And then worked my way inside, going all the way around, making it as even as I can. This doesn't have to be perfect. You can see I kind of have like a lip. You can see like a line going around. That'll more than likely be all right, because the bolts are holding the wheel together, and then the silicone will be holding the wheel together as well. So something like this. This is close. I'll have to do a little bit more just refinishing and retouching, but you can see as I cut away and before in the last clip, my mask is in the fucking way, so I don't breathe this shit in. There was a bunch of stuff here even after I beveled this in, and then you're gonna just keep going until all of it is gone and you got a nice plain smooth surface, because that means that you are flat, or flat enough. So we're gonna keep going all the way around. All right, second one is done, as done as it's gonna get. So I was battling this one for a while to get it as even as I could, just because I had cut into the weld pretty far, like unevenly, kind of like I did on this one. You can see there's like pretty tall spots and chunky spots, and I cut here pretty deep too, so that's how that's what I was doing on this one, and it was just taking a while. I'm using 80 grit flap disc, and it was working, but definitely taking longer. And I since have switched to the 60 grit, and that stuff eats through this. I would definitely recommend just doing the 60 grit right away, just because of how fast it goes. Speed up the process and not sit here for 4 or 5 hours like I am. One of my mistakes from cutting too close to the barrel, it looks like. So I'm not worried about like that little, like, that's not necessarily a crack. I could flatten that out. I just don't want to make it more flat than it is. But around all the way is pretty even, except for right here. So it's a little low, and I could take the time to try and get this all to come down to make that level with here. But I'm assuming I could probably just add extra sealant there just in case. But otherwise, it is pretty much uniform for the most part. I've got all the weld knocked down. This was number 3 still, so. Last one is done. So I've got a couple different like nicks like that in there, where I cut a little deep into the barrel, which they'll be fine. You just want like the mating surface to be pretty much even, which it is where your hardware holes are. When you fill this up with sealant, that'll be fine, or at least it should be. Same with like right there, I've got one too. But what counts, like I said, is that all of where the hardware holes are is even. So this will just end up filled with sealant anyways, so it'll be fine. Or, like I said, at least it should be. So I wanted to add too, you will get covered in aluminum, like everywhere. Aluminum is going to be everywhere. My whole car is covered in aluminum, and it'll blow off, but everything is covered in aluminum, whether or not you can see it or what. But next thing you're going to want to do is, you got your faces now, you've got your barrels, and you have your brand new lips, and I'm going to show you how to assemble these all together and make them all fit, make sure they work, and make sure that everything all lines up, and you'll be good to go. So before you put your faces in, it'd probably be a smart idea to put in your valve stems first and get these all squared away. These might be different from mine or yours, but mine take an Allen, and you're going to want to assemble them back in the way that they came assembled, like this. So the style that I bought are 90-degree stems, so they're going to be installed like this. So on my wheels, there's a specific hole for the valve stem to go into, but set them in extremely carefully. Try not to scratch your lips. And the next thing you got to do is just throw in your hardware. And as you're torquing them down, you don't want to go all the way around. You're going to want to go back, forth, back, forth, back, forth like a star, so that they make sure that they sit even.
dropped it. You dropped it. You dropped it. Yeah, get that nut on. Get that.
So I was having an issue. This is so corroded, it's not letting the faces sit all the way in, and it also, from hammering so hard, it bent the barrel. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try and sand all this down to try and make the faces sit easier, and I'm gonna do it on the faces themselves too, to try and make these to seat a whole lot easier. All right, I finally got that little bastard to seat all the way. I had to take it apart completely and just sand a section of it down because it actually bent it, and just sanded a part of the barrel down. Like, I'll show you, like this part of the barrel here, sanded it down and just gave it a little bit more like room, and it went totally smooth. So now I'm fully flush all the way around, and I can assemble the hardware together. You don't need two people for this, but it makes it a hell of a lot easier. So you can go in a pattern like this all the way around, but when you actually torque these to spec, you're gonna want to do a star pattern as good as you can. So right now I'm just going around, tightening everything up, well, snugging everything up. And then, like I said, I'm gonna go around to each corner or each bolt and kind of do a crisscross pattern. I'm holding the one side and using the socket on the other side. All right, now what I'm gonna do is, like I said, I'm gonna try and go in like a crisscross pattern-ish and try and get these snug as a bug in a rug. Okay, I'm gonna go up top. Just get them tight. I'm gonna go over here now. Okay, come over here. Get them nice and snug. Do this one. You're supposed to use a torque wrench on this, but that's okay. Okay. Finally on to my last wheel here. So like I've been doing, just snugging them all up, and then I'm going around and tightening them, doing my crisscross pattern. But these things are looking fire, literally so good. I'm super excited to put these on the car. I cannot wait to seal these things up and get them ready to go. Well, I didn't nearly get as much done as I wanted to, but I at least got these fully assembled, so that's super dope. I cannot wait for these things. And yeah, I just gotta reseal them up, seal them up, and then I can get some tires mounted on them. But I really wanted to try and get to more of my car, but I didn't, so that'll probably just have to wait for another time. So now that you've got all of these all tightened down, all ready to go, set up, so you're gonna want to lay your caulk that you got in between here, and you're gonna lay a really nice fat bead in here, and then you're gonna take a quarter, or your thumb essentially, and you're gonna squish it in between all the way and force it in there. Get a nice bead all the way in there. Change of scenery. I've moved inside with these just so I can keep working on them. Before you seal up your new wheels, or your wheels in general, you're gonna need to take your razor blade or a wire wheel or something, and you're gonna want to get any amount of rubber or previous sealant. Really, dude. Previous sealant, and just get rid of everything. This is all just marks from the dirty wire wheel, but you got to get all of it out of here because you need to have a really, really good seal, and it would be a waste of your time to try and do this twice. So you may as well just do it once. So now that you have all this whole thing clean, you have to take your tape and you kind of want to hug this lip here, where like that little ridge is for the lip side. And then for the other side, or on the barrel side, you can give it a little bit of a gap, but you'll want it to look something like that. So I'm just gonna follow the original line here, and just because this doesn't have as good of a lip as the actual lip does, and I'm just gonna follow the original line, and it's no matter really what you do, it's still gonna work, but this is giving me a whole lot more room to be able to work the material or work the sealant. So when you use your quarter or your thumb, it'll spread out over, and then you peel your tape off when you're done. Now that I have everything taped off, I'm gonna get to caulking. Get to caulking. So you're gonna lay a nice fat bead in there, and then you're gonna go over it again with your quarter and make it smooth and even. Now that you have your bead laid, take your quarter or a coin, and you're gonna smooth it out all the way across. Here's kind of what a finished product will look like. So a nice even bead all the way around. So my side here on the tape, on the next one, I'm gonna go a little bit farther in just because the caulk didn't really make it to the tape. Some parts it did, some parts it didn't. Or I could just use more next time. Either or is gonna be a working solution. Here's another one done. So I'll try and record the next one of how I'm doing this, but it's pretty self-explanatory. You're just squeezing it, filling it up, and then you're taking your quarter and just gliding it along, pushing it evenly, and taking the fatter chunks of it and pushing it along the edge all the way across. Literally just this.
I don't got the most still hands.
That's okay. That's all. Finished product is gonna look something like this. So the only way you'll know if you did this right is if they hold air and mount, and the tire mounts, or they don't. If it holds air, you did it right. If they don't, you gotta redo it. But that's pretty much what a finished product looks like. So yeah. Hopefully this video was helpful to you guys. I have a bunch of other stuff coming, a bunch of other videos that I've filmed. So hopefully you guys can stick around for some of those too. Like I've said a million times, I know I'm not super good at this yet, but I'm trying to do something and trying to show people how to do stuff.